UFC 316, Dvalashvili versus O'Malley. Full card predictions, starting from the early prelim opener all the way to the main event. I had a bit of a long day today. Did a bit of a Cedric Dumas. Had a court date at 6 a.m. And it's currently midnight, so long day. I'm going to make this quick, and we'll get right through it. First fight of the card, Marquel Mederos versus Mark Chowinski, however you say his name. I'm not going to lie, I haven't looked into Mark Chowinski very much. I just looked at the people he's fought, and I don't think he has the best resume. A lot of the guys he's fought don't have the best records. 2 fights ago, he fought Reese Archer, who was 2-8 at the time, so not a very good look. Marquel Mederos, not undefeated like Chowinski, but he's looked pretty good in all of his fights, at the UFC level, on the Contender Series and in the UFC. I didn't love his fight against Austin Hubbard, but that fight was at altitude, and maybe he'll gas again. It won't look very impressive, but Chowinski's taking this fight on short notice, so if someone's going to gas, it's probably going to be him. Mederos has been preparing for longer than Chowinski has, so I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about him maybe not looking good, but I wouldn't be surprised if his opponent looks worse. All right, next fight up the card, Quillan Salkilld versus Yanal Ashmouz. I don't know how good Salkilld is. Obviously, his one fight in the UFC was 20 seconds long, and he knocked out Anshul Jabli in the first exchange. It's sad to say, but knocking out an Indian fighter in the UFC is not as impressive as it might have been at the time. Just not been a very good run for them folk. But I don't know. He's a minus 500 favorite against a guy I think is pretty good in Yanal Ashmouz. Yanal Ashmouz's only loss is to Chris Duncan, which I won't hold against him. I think Chris Duncan's actually pretty good grappler, pretty solid striker. Looked good against Vucenic. Looked good against Balajiaki, who we saw get a win last week. But I didn't like Yanal Ashmouz, his performance against Trevor Peek. I thought he made it kind of close, and I don't really think Trevor Peek is that good of a fighter. I like Trevor Peek. I think he's entertaining, but I don't think he's the most skilled guy. I don't love that performance. Now, Ashmouz did knock out Sam Patterson, who's kind of had I don't want to say a career resurgence, but he's looked pretty good recently. So, yeah. But I looked at Quillan Salkild's record. All of his fights have been in Eternal MMA, which is a promotion I respect a lot more now that JDM has become a champion. Kind of come out of that region and represented well. A couple other guys out of that area too that are doing well. 2 of Salkild's wins are against Don Marfan. I gotta look up his opponent's name. He fought on the road to UFC. Don Marfan. He fought on the road to UFC against, what's his name? Apefiga, is that his name? Yeah, Yuji Yannick. This guy's a black Japanese guy. Yuji Yannick Apefiga. Very interesting name. I don't know if that's his born name, but he was a pretty big favorite in that fight. Apefiga was, and Dom Marfan won. 2 very weird names. Dom Marfan won. And I was like, wow, who is this guy? He looked really good in that fight. Looked really good in the grappling. Was able to neutralize the striking against a pretty good striker. And I'm like, oh, this guy's got 2 losses. That's not a good look. And then I realized his only 2 losses are to Quillan Salkilld. Both by rear naked choke submission, which is a good look. If you're going to get a position, dominant position-based submission against a guy who's pretty good at grappling, from what I've seen, I'm going to rate your grappling pretty highly. So I'm going to pick Quillan Salkilld to maybe out-grapple Yanal Ashmouz, or beat him on the feet. He's looked good on the feet so far in the 2 exchanges he's had in the UFC. So he could do so. Yanal Ashmouz, I don't want to say he's super hittable or finishable. He's never been finished, but Trevor Peek had some success in the striking, and I think Salkilld will probably have some success too. Next fight up the card, Joosang versus Jeka Serghei. I don't think Jeka Serghei is very good, and Vegas agrees. So I'm just going to pick Joosang. I know basically nothing about him other than he's undefeated, and he's got a couple finishes against some decent guys. That's all I need to know against Jeka Serghei, who I think his best win is Lucas Alexander. His only win outside of he didn't go in the Contender Series. He went to Road UFC, and his only win since then is against Lucas Alexander, who lost to Bogdan Grad, who I don't think is very good. So I'm gonna go Joosang Yu. Next fight up the card, Ariane Lipski versus Cong Wang. Cong Wang is getting I think especially in her last fight against Bruno Brazil, a lot of people thought she wasn't very good, or didn't think she was going to be very good going into it because she got finished in her fight before that against, who was that, Gabriela Fernandez. Tapology's being very annoying right now. It's not letting me look. Yeah, it was Gabriela Fernandez. But that was kind of fluky. She got head kicked, and then she got choked out, and she was winning the fight. Other than that, it wasn't very competitive until then. And how often are you going to pick a head kick to submission finish in the women's flyweight division? That shit basically never happens, even at the top level. So I'm not gonna hold that super hard against Cong Wang. She looked good in all of other fights at the top level. She knocked out that one lady in the first round, Victoria Leonardo, and then she looked, she outstruck Bruno Brazil on the feet. Lipski I don't think is that bad. I think she looked impressive against Casey O'Neill. And her last loss being to Jasmine Jasdavicius, I don't hate. I think Jasudavicius is pretty good. But she did lose to Karini Silva, which kind of aged poorly because Karini Silva went on to lose to Viviane Araújo, which is not a very good loss. She also went to a split decision with Melissa Gatto, who I don't think is that good. Melissa Gatto's best win is a boob punch, body shot TKO against Tamires Vidal. I guess the Lipski's a better win than Tamires Vidal, but I don't think Gatto's that good. So I'm going to pick Cong Wang to just probably be better on the outside. I think Lipski could get the grappling going and maybe find a submission or, break Cong Wang just by, having a cardio grappling advantage. But I doubt it. Next fight up the card, Khaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson. Interesting fight because Gustafsson, he's had a couple fights canceled. He was supposed to fight someone. They pulled out, and then he got scheduled to fight Trevin Giles last week, and Trevin Giles pulled out the night of the fight or the night before, which is interesting because why would you take the fight on short notice if you're not going to be able to fight? I don't know. But what's interesting is Khaos Williams basically never fights. He's super inactive, and he's taking this fight on super short notice. So respect to him. He fought not that long ago. I think this might be his shortest layoff since he's been in the UFC. At least, recently. I feel like he's been a year between fights as of late. I don't think Khaos Williams is the best fighter. His best wins are Rolando Bedoya, Carlson Harris, which I think he looked really good in that fight. What's his name? Michel Pereira. He went to a split decision against, but that was him at welterweight. That Michel Pereira lost to Diego Sanchez. That was a DQ, I get, but. I don't know. I think Khaos Williams is actually pretty good, and I think his style of having a ton of power and being pretty solidly technical and having no real big holes in his game is a decent style for welterweight. And the problem with Gustafsson is one, he was gonna fight Trevin Giles, who's pretty chinny and doesn't have a ton of power, so he's probably planning on fuck it, let me just get in this guy's fist, get him in the clinch, and beat him up. And you can't really do that against Khaos Williams without getting caught and finished. And he also doesn't have an out. Carlson Harris, I thought Carlson Harris could beat Khaos Williams because Carlson Harris has really good grappling and really good scrambles and counter grappling. But Gustafsson doesn't really have that. He's not super good anywhere. He's got finishing potential, but I can't remember Khaos Williams getting easily finished on the feet by anyone. Even a guy who's really dynamic and explosive like Michel Pereira. So I don't think Gustafsson's going to be able to do it, and I think his style just kind of lends him to getting. He kind of needs to get in your face and bully you to get positioned in a clinch or land good strikes, and he wasn't able to do that. And also, like I said last week, for the Trevin Giles pick, I thought about picking Trevin Giles even on super short notice because Gustafsson has a loss to Jorelton Luderbuck, who I don't think is that good. I definitely think Khaos Williams would beat Jorelton Luderbuck, pretty clearly, probably finish him. So, I'm picking Khaos Williams in this fight. Next fight up the card, Serghei Spivak versus Waldo Cortes Acosta. I think I've picked against Waldo Cortes Acosta in every single fight in his career, and I'm not going to stop today. The Ryan Spann fight's interesting because Spann looked good in his last fight at light heavyweight, and everyone else who's gone from light heavyweight to heavyweight, like Jilton Almeida, and Kenan Nizuchukwu has looked good in their first few fights in the division. But Ryan Spann just really like fought like an idiot, and sometimes he does that. Like he didn't fight good against Anthony Smith, so I'm just gonna charge that one to Ryan Spann being kind of a dumbass. Rebellious Spain couldn't grapple. I don't love that win from Waldo, Cortes, Acosta. Andrei Arlovsky. When I saw the fight, I'm like, Andrei Arlovsky pretty clearly won that, and then Cortes Acosta got the decision. And I kind of thought the same thing for the Vandeer fight. Like if you didn't watch that fight, Vandeer just spammed leg kicks, and Cortes Acosta didn't check them. And then Cortes Acosta didn't even really have that much of an advantage in the boxing, which is like his thing. And I say all of that to say that Spivak would very easily beat Arlovsky, very easily beat Vandeer, very easily beat Rebellious Spain, and very easily beat what's his name, Ryan Spann, if Ryan Spann fought like that against Spivak. I just think Spivak is. You're going to see guys like Tybura and Spivak just kind of gatekeep like the top 10 area of the division because a lot of these fat heavyweights aren't athletic enough to get off their back or, bridge a guy out of mount or something like that. And Spivak, when he gets those positions, he's just going to beat you up if you don't know how to get out of there. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think Spivak's like a better version of Tybura. And we saw Tybura beat Mick Parkin. We saw Tybura beat Jonathan Diniz. And I think those guys might even be better than Waldo, Cortes, Acosta. But I mean, Acosta's grappling didn't look bad against Despain. It just didn't look like, wow, this guy's grappling's really good. It looked more like, wow, Despain literally never tried to like get his guard back from half guard, or never tried like any sort of sweep, or any technical stand up from half guard. So like it felt like in the fight, like, man, if I was there, I would be getting up right now. So I don't know. I don't think Cortes Acosta's grappling is going to be that good. And it hasn't really been tested, even by Vandeer, who's a grappler who, shot against, what's his name, Olenek, and then didn't shoot against Chase Sherman, and didn't shoot against Cortes Acosta. I don't know. I just think Spivak's a better fighter. So, and you look at the guys who have beat Spivak, it's like Almeida, Gon, Aspinall. I think he fought Pavlovich too. It's like the top guys in the division, and I don't think Cortes Acosta is all that. Next fight up the card. Azamat Murzakhanov versus Brendson Ribeiro. This was originally supposed to be Murzakhanov versus Johnny Walker, but Johnny Walker pulled out, so Brendson Ribeiro stepped in. A lot of short notice fights in this card. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I think there might be even more. Yeah, I'm going to pick Murzakhanov. He's a pretty big favorite, and for a pretty good reason. He's pretty good. A lot of pretty goods in there. He does have a 10-inch reach disadvantage, and I actually think Ribeiro's pretty decent on the feet. If you watched his fight against Mingyang Zhang, they were trading, big strikes on the feet, and if Murzakhanov happens to be chinny, which I don't think he is, I can see him just getting caught early and, losing. But I don't really see that happening. Brendson Ribeiro didn't look that good on the feet against Magomed Gajiashilov, and I feel like Murzakhanov would easily beat the shit out of Gajiashilov. And I don't know what Murzakhanov would do against Mingyang Zhang, but I also feel like he would clearly beat Caio Machado, who's just like a fat welterweight. Maybe not welterweight, but he's like a fat middleweight. I guess so is Murzakhanov. But yeah, the thing about Murzakhanov is he's really dangerous throughout the length of the fight. You look at his fight against Tafon and Chukwi, who I think is actually pretty solid. Tafon and Chukwi was losing that fight. Winning that fight, and then it gets in the third round, and Murzakhanov hits him with a knee and knocks him out late. So if he's able to survive the early exchanges and he doesn't fight like an idiot, if he gets later in the fight, Brendson Ribeiro is going to be probably pretty gassed because he took this fight on short notice. And I think Murzakhanov has that finishing potential later into the fight and can beat him. So, and even then, outside of the reach disadvantage, I think he's just a better fighter pretty much everywhere. Brendson Ribeiro looked decent in his last fight against, what's his name, DR Nurgaje. But Nurgaje could be horrible. He hasn't really fought anyone that good. This is his first UFC fight. It was on short notice. And he was kind of winning that fight. He was on top. And then he got, Kimura'd off the bottom. And that was on that weird card where I saw some tweet where that was the first event in 15 years or something where there were back-to-back Kimuras in 2 consecutive fights. I don't know. That's just some trivia. yeah, I think Murzakhanov's a better fighter, and I think Vegas agrees because he's a minus 550 favorite. And it's not terrible if you can find like Brendson and Ribeiro for a first round knockout at like plus 1,000 or plus 1,100 or something like that. That's a good bet because he's got finishing potential. He's got a big range advantage, and it's light heavyweight, so he's going to be dangerous early. I just think Murzakhanov probably going to win in every other scenario. So next fight up the card: Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van. Josh Van, one of my favorite guys at flyweight, been on his train for a while. He's one of those, I don't know what the adjective is for Myanmar, I guess Burmese. He's one of like the Burmese guys. He's an American Burmese, so he's not like, training out of Burma, or Myanmar or anything. But he's got like that, Myanmar spirit where they're really tough and, it's a Lethway roots and stuff like that. Bruno Silva, I think, is pretty solid, but if you just compare their Cody Durden fights, Joshua Van, close first round with Cody Durden, and then he just beat him up for round 2 and almost got a 10-8 in round 3, or arguably got a 10-8 in round 3. Bruno Silva was just losing the Cody Durden fight until he knocked him out at the end, which I guess could happen in this fight too. But another performance that I think shows that Van is probably going to win this is the Manel Cap performance. Manel Cap has close fights when the fight is like pretty slow, and sometimes it feels like he's hesitant to like go in and be super active in a fight. We saw him in his last 2 against Bruno Silva and against Asu Amabev. Like once he starts going, he looks pretty good, but other times when he gets going, he gets caught. Like he got finished in Risen, and he's got a lot of finishes in Risen just by like being kind of chaotic and throwing a lot and being like a hard-hitting flyweight. But when he got really active against Bruno Silva didn't land anything. Like Manel Cap looked as good as ever, defensively and offensively. And the thing about Joshua Van is once he gets going, he doesn't slow down and he breaks you. So if Joshua Van is able to get going like Manel Cap was, and Bruno Silva doesn't have an immediate answer of like rocking him and making him respect his striking, he's just going to get like rolled over. Joshua Van his biggest problem at flyweight is that he's small for the division, which is sad because it's the smallest division. And that's kind of how he lost to Charles Johnson. He was winning, and then he was trying to fade away from an exchange, and Joshua Van is, a man compared to a boy. Or Charles Johnson is a man compared to a boy against Joshua Van. So, he's able to find him on like super far outside of the exchange and finish him. And obviously Bruno Silva is not, 5'10" or whatever Charles Johnson is. It doesn't have that size advantage. So I think Van's just going to get a lot of momentum and just break Bruno Silva throughout 3 rounds. I don't know if he's going to get a finish because Manel Cap wasn't able to finish him throughout some pretty good exchanges until he landed a low blow. But fuck Bruno Silva because he landed like 5 low blows and like a couple eye pokes in their fight. So fuck him. Yeah, I'm going to pick Joshua Van, and I hope he wins, and I think he will look impressive in doing so when he does. On to the main card, Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. I don't know what to think of Luque. I really did not like his performance against Joaquin Buckley, and I really have not liked any of his performances since the Jeff Neal fight, and I didn't like his performance before that against Bilal. The Jeff Neal fight, he got knocked out. He had a brain bleed. It should be noted in every Vicente Luque fight, like going forward, since the Jeff Neal fight, there is a chance that he just dies from another brain bleed. So I don't want to put that out there, I guess. I hope he doesn't die. He's a really entertaining fighter. But RDA, he made the fight really boring. He was clearly scared of getting hurt. The Joaquin Buckley fight, he took a little bit of damage, went to the ground, and then just didn't really... He kind of covered up, similar to how Jalen Turner did against Moicano, which is just a really bad look. I know he came back and beat Themba Grimbo, but if he lost that fight, let's just say he went on to lose a decision against Themba Grimbo, literally no one in the world would pick Luque in this fight, and Themba Grimbo was a favorite in that fight, and the only thing that I think separated Themba Grimbo from having like a good chance at beating Luque and not was him getting caught in the first 30 seconds and then submitted, which is what happened. So if that didn't happen, I feel like Grimbo would have had a good fight, and Holland would be a pretty big favorite. And another thing is Holland is like, whenever he's at 170, he's actually pretty locked in. It looks pretty good. He didn't look good against MVP, but he looked good against Gunnar Nelson. I picked Gunnar Nelson in that fight kind of as like I want Gunnar Nelson to win this fight pick. But Holland usually looks good at 170. yeah, I didn't mind the Gunnar Nelson fight. He looked dangerous. He looked fast. He looked strong for the division. And against an aging and hurt and damaged Luque, I think that can mean a lot. I don't know if Holland's going to get a finish, but I can imagine Holland's probably not going to get finished himself. So I don't really know how. I don't think Luque is going to like walk him down and drop him a couple times and win a decision. And I don't think Luque is also going to get on top of him and submit him or out wrestle him, kind of like how Delidze did or Rainer de Ritter did. So yeah, and he also doesn't have like the MVP like tap dance on the outside. That's kind of a unique style, and I don't think Luque is going to be able to like take anything from that. So I think Holland has like the stylistic matchup, and like kind of the Luque could still be horrible at fighting or like scared to fight advantage. Next fight up the card. Now this one's hard to pick because this happens a lot with when fighters from other promotions come and have their debut against like a ranked guy in the UFC. You have to do like the MMA algebra. You have to be like, okay, he fought, Patchy Mix fought this guy, who fought this guy, who fought this guy. Yeah, I'm going to pick Patchy Mix. I think he's actually pretty solid. I don't really know how great he is because he's kind of a couple degrees of separation away from any guys in the UFC. But one performance I did like is he beat Kyoji Horiguchi by a pretty clear decision. And that's not easy to do. Like Sergio Pettis was getting whooped by Kyoji Horiguchi pretty close to around when Patchy Mix did. And then he just kind of found he threw a kick, and then when he put his leg down, he went for a spinning back fist and knocked out Kyoji Horiguchi. And that's how he was able to beat him. But Patchy Mix went and actually won a decision and was the better fighter, which I think is pretty impressive. Horiguchi didn't look good in his last fight, but in Bellator, and then I think earlier in Risen too. I think Kyoji Horiguchi has looked pretty good. So I think it's a win that's aged pretty well. I think you can make the obvious comparisons Kyoji Horiguchi, he fought Demetrius Johnson, but that fight was 10 years ago. I don't really know how well that. I'm not gonna be Kyoji Horiguchi is not UFC level because he got whooped by one of the best fighters ever of all time in the UFC 10 years ago. So, yeah, Bautista, I don't know how good he is. Again, the Aldo fight doesn't tell us a ton. It's he was afraid to fight on the feet with Aldo, but he was able to beat him in, I don't want to say a definitive way, but he beat Aldo, I guess, which is a good win. Ricky Simone, whatever. Everyone beats Ricky Simone. The Damon Blackshear fight was actually really close. I went back and rewatched it, and it was this fight can go either way. And then a couple, his other wins aren't that good. Guido Canetti, not a very good win. Benito Lopez, not a very good win. So I don't really know how good Mario Bautista is either. But the fact that he wasn't really willing to exchange with Jose Aldo, and I don't know, I haven't loved all of Mario Bautista's performances. I haven't been super impressed with him. I'm gonna pick Patchy Mix because I know he's at least pretty good just as far as fighters go. And I think I know more about him than Bautista. And there's still, space for holes in Bautista's game. Even the Blackshear fight, he didn't look that good, and Blackshear took that fight. I want to say he fought 2 weeks before that fight, so I don't know. I'll pick Patchy Mix to win, but not super confidently. Next fight up the card, Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. I'm picking Pyfer. I don't think Gastelum is really that much in it anymore. I don't think Pyfer is the best fighter in the world. I think he's a little overrated, but I didn't like how Gastelum looked against Sean Brady. He kind of got bullied. Sean Brady kind of did whatever he wanted. Gastelum looked okay against D-Rod, but I really don't think D-Rod is that good anymore. I know he just knocked out Ponzinibbio, but it is Ponzinibbio. And then other than that, his other fights at middleweight, Cannonier, that fight was forever ago, and he didn't look that good. The Whittaker fight, obviously, that fight was also forever ago, but he didn't look that good. So, Kelvin Gastelum hasn't had a performance that I've liked in quite some time, and he's looked like he's regressed pretty significantly since his prime. And I think Pyfer's just a top 15 level middleweight, and I don't know if I can say the same about Gastelum, who arguably lost to D-Rod, and I don't think D-Rod is even a top 25 welterweight. So, yeah, maybe being top 25 in welterweight is more impressive than being top 15 in middleweight, but I don't know. I haven't really been shown that, and also I think Pyfer has a good style for beating a guy like Gastelum. I don't think he's gonna finish him, but I can see him beating him up and then taking him down, holding him down. It should be noted, Pyfer is Sean Brady's main training partner, and I think vice versa. And Sean Brady probably had the most impressive performance against Gastelum out of anyone he's fought. So, if that means anything, it can't mean anything bad for Pfeiffer, I imagine. Co-main event. Oh, geez, this main card kind of stinks. I'll say this before I get to the main and co-main. What is the UFC doing? I said the same thing about UFC 315, where they just like have potential for every fight to be boring. Merab often has boring fights. Kayla Harrison, Juliana Pena, they're both women, and it's a 5-round fight. Could be boring. Kevin Gastelum has had some stinkers recently. Mario Bautista has had some stinkers. Holland, I don't know. That fight's probably gonna be good, but like every other fight in the main card except for the Holland Luque fight has one fighter in it who's like coming off of, a pretty fucking boring fight. So I don't know what the UFC's doing. Same thing with 315. It's like they don't watch the fights. They're just like looking at, okay, this guy beat this guy and this guy beat this guy. And I don't know. It's pretty dumb. I think they're just looking at like follower numbers and then like who's beaten who in the rankings, and that's how they decide who gets the main card slots. Co-main event, Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. I don't think I've seen a underdog this big defending a belt since Juliana Pena's last time defending a belt. And that being said, I think she's just going to lose again. Now, I did say last week how like Kayla Harrison she's pretty overrated. She's not like that good. Based on like the Ketlin Ribeiro fight, like she looked pretty shit in that fight. She also looked pretty shit against the lady Larissa Pacheco in PFL. But Juliana Pena looks bad in all of her fights, so I'm going to pick Kayla Harrison. And honestly, that's all I care to say about this fight, because it's going to be shit, and I'm probably not going to watch it. Next fight up the card, main event, Dvalashvili versus Sean O'Malley. So first time around, I picked Sean O'Malley, and the reason why was because I thought he had good enough distance management. Basically, I was like, what can O'Malley do different than Cejudo and Yanal? Is like what I was going off at the time, because those were Merab's more recent fights. And I was like, I think O'Malley has good enough distance management to keep his back off the cage and keep himself in the open mat, and that will prevent him from getting taken down, because I didn't think Merab had very good takedown offense. He was just using the cage, and it's pretty easy to come to that conclusion if you watch the Aldo fight and you watch the Yan fight, because Merab failed significantly more takedowns than he succeeded in. I don't think he took down Aldo once, but he was able to hold him up against the cage because Aldo kept finding himself backed up against the cage. And I was like, O'Malley's not going to be able to do that, or not going to do that, because he's good enough with distance management. And I was right, but the problem is Merab was able to just take down O'Malley in the middle of the cage. And I don't think that's going to be different. Now, what do I think is going to be different? As O'Malley, you kind of have like two game plans that you can do against a guy like Merab. You can do what he did in the first fight, which is, if I get taken down, just try to work a little bit off my back. Don't try super hard to get up. Don't fight it super hard. Don't try to muscle out of positions, because you'll gas yourself out. You'll get your chances when you're on your feet, and hopefully you can hurt him, in 3 rounds and win a decision, or, finish him when you're on the feet. Or you can do what Umar did, which is, if you end up on your back, get up, work to the feet, break from the clinch, and just try to beat him where you have the advantage. And I think what Umar did was he tried too hard to force the grappling early on, and it just gassed him out by round 3, and then he didn't have the ability to win 3, 4, and 5, because he wasn't way better on the feet, and he wasn't way better on the ground, and he was way more gassed. And because O'Malley, because of the difference in his camp from this time and last time, he's talking about how he wants to work harder and he's a lot more locked in for this fight. I think he's going to do the same thing that Umar did, which is, as soon as my back hits the ground, get right up. Kind of do what JDM did, where right when my back hits the ground, start moving. And it could work. I think that'll create more opportunities early on for O'Malley to find a finish. But I think that in the long run, it's a worse game plan, or it's like an equally bad game plan to the one the first time fight. Because if you watch O'Malley against Merab, he's the only person Merab has fought in a 5-round fight where he wasn't super gassed by the end of it. O'Malley was able to, put on some pressure in the 5th round, try to find a finish. He was unsuccessful, but he was able to do it in the 5th round. Whereas anyone else that Merab has fought in a 5th round looks like they're going to die any second. So I think that O'Malley, my prediction is either 1, O'Malley sticks with the game plan he had in the first fight and he has a similar result, or he finds a finish randomly, or he does the game plan in the second fight and he gets a finish early, getting off his back and just beating up Merab, like I said, early, or he does the same thing Umar did, where he tries to take advantage of his advantages early, and he gasses out later in the fight, and then he looks completely gassed, and it's going to be like the Umar fight, it's going to be 48-47 Merab, and everyone's going to be like, wow, that was so dominant, because they only remember the last 3 rounds where Merab had the other guy gassed and he did nothing. Like, I'm serious, if you watch the Umar fight in the last 3 rounds, I other than the one check hook he landed in the 5th round, seriously name one strike Merab landed in round 3, 4, and 5 against Umar. I guarantee you can't. Maybe he landed like a body kick that was significant or something. He's just had the other guy more gas, so he's going to look better. And people are going to be like, wow, that was so dominant, when it really wasn't. And the reason why people think that the first O'Malley fight was dominant for Merab is because O'Malley didn't really try super hard to get off his back. And I don't know if that was his game plan or if that was because he was injured, but I seriously think that's as good as an idea of trying to like get up right when your back hits the ground and muscle your way out of positions. I don't think O'Malley has the grappling ability to keep this fight where he wants it. And I think that's what it comes down to. Unless the injuries that he's talking about are super, super serious from the first fight, he looked so much worse in the grappling than anyone else did against Merab. Like, seriously, watch the Aldo fight. I think Merab was 0 for 16 on takedowns against Aldo. And then, like, after the first, or even in the first round, Merab was, like, landing pretty much every takedown against O'Malley. Yeah, watch the Yan fight. Like, Merab was barely able to take down or hold down Yan, but Yan was super gassed at the end of his fight, and it was a 3-round fight. But Aldo probably would have been gassed at the end of a 5-round fight. But O'Malley had, pretty much a full gas tank at the end of his fight. So, it's a rematch, and with rematches, you always have, 5 more rounds for the more dangerous guy to, get a finish. Which I could see O'Malley doing, but I would be surprised. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just that I think it's more likely Merab wins a decision than Merab gets finished. So let me know if you agree or disagree with my picks. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. You can go back and listen to all my previous predictions from this year on this channel. There's a playlist. You can follow my Twitter, which is linked in the description below. That is all. Thank you for listening.